Shalom, giving all praise to Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai by Hashem Rakakwadash. Giving all praises to Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai by Hashem Rakakwadash. And I'm going to entitle this lesson. This is basically a test slash lesson. Because normally when I do a little test, because you see me on the screen, I just want to see how the pictures, how I set up everything. I want to go into the icons and to Renaissance art. So this lesson, this lesson is actually it's a test. Icons and Renaissance art. Also, part of the title is the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages, or medieval times. Now, when you look that up, I'm not going to look it up. I can easily look it up. I did videos on it in the past. When you look up Dark Ages, or the Dark Age, or the Dark Ages, also sometimes it'll say Dark Ages, also known as medieval. Then you have a time period called the Renaissance, which means rebirth. See, this proves that we are those people. We are the people, that the Israelites are people of color. The people of North, Central, and South America are the Israelites. The first Israelites that came over here on this side of the world, the Western Hemisphere, the fourth part of the world, the fourth part of the earth. That's in Revelation chapter 6. There was a book by the same title. I believe it's the fourth part of the earth, or the fourth part of the world, which is known as the Americas, which is the West. So now, when Esau first got over here, they had to expand upon the map, the world map, right? All they knew was Asia, which is Eurasia, Europe and Africa, and within that you have the Middle East, which is the east, the eastern side of the world, the eastern side of the globe. So when Christopher Columbus first got on this side of the world, which is factual, you're going to have these clowns out here. Well, there's no such thing as, you always have those critics. There's no such thing as the Israelites. There's no such thing as Christopher Columbus. The earth is flat. And yeah, if you look at this, all this nonsense, man. Oh, and by the way, forgive me for, being drunk on camera. I wasn't drunk, I was real tipsy. But then again, don't forgive me. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't have to put it up. I put it up. Then you saw another side of me, so to speak, just kind of chilling. Because I hadn't drunk a wine in like 5 months. So I was kind of like Noah. Why did Noah become a husbandman? A husbandman is a farmer because he plants seeds. When you look up that word husbandman, it means the same thing as husband. Husbandman. Husbandman. A husbandman, the Hebrew word there is Ayash. Ayash. Not Ash. Ash is fire. Ayash is man. Ayasha is woman, meaning a man in a feminine sense. The Ha character in the Hebrew, the suffix of the word, the end of the word, prefix and suffix Ha feminizes it. I'm thinking of like you have names you can give your son or your daughter, newborn son or your daughter, which is the same name, but it's slightly different because the baby is a girl. But that comes from the Hebrew. Anyway, coming back to the subject here, we're dealing with medieval times. We're dealing with the Dark Ages, also known as the Middle Ages. When you look it up, I'm a little all over the place. When you look it up, you know, they go to Google, Wikipedia, whatever, DuckDuckGo. Pretty much they say, well, that was a time, and they'll give you a starting point to an ending point. The ending point was about 1300s, because that's when Esau started coming into power. The beginning point really should go back 1,000 years to Constantine the Great, when he sat up as head of state and religious leader. You know, state and religion were one. What Esau did over here in this country, they separated religion and state to say that they're different from Europe. We're not going to merge. You can have your own religion, which is nothing but confusion. That's why this is place, another reason why this place is called Babylon the Great. The word Babylon from the Hebrew word Babel, which means confusion. You can make up a religion. I mean, this place is a confusing place, man. They'll tell you that the Bible is America's book, and they're a God-fearing nation. Every president, I'm gonna come back to my subject. Every president that was sworn in, so first of all, they're going against the Bible, and they're swearing in on a book that says don't swear on anything. That's confusion right there. Republican and Democrat both support the so-called state of Israel, which show you that they're the same bird, that eagle, the symbol of America. The Romans had the symbol of America. Petra, that structure down there in Jordan called Petra, which means rock or stone. You get petrified. That structure that's red, that happens to be red, the color red, deep red, and it's carved out of a mountain. And you can see the mountainous part of it, and the structure of it is Roman architecture. Why? Because the Romans got the way they built buildings was based upon Petra, which they were the Edomites, so-called. So small-hat scholars, not us, small-hat scholars, many of them historians / scholars, they tell you, look it up. They'll tell you, I did videos on that. See, everything we talk about, we did a video on this. We gave you everything. We gave you everything. We gave you all the breakdowns. And so now what we do, a lot of times we go back to the same breakdowns, because it's like you're constantly reviewing to keep it in your mind. You don't do it, especially those breakdowns. The technical term is hermeneutics, which hermeneutics means etymology. You have to go into words. That's why you really can't understand these scriptures unless you understand Aramaic, which is basically Hebrew. When it says Simon Bar Jonah, Bar is Aramaic for son, but in the Hebrew it's Ban. So when you see in the New Testament, so some of the people spoke Aramaic, which is Hebrew. Hebrew just means the past. Anyway, I'm all over the place. Going back to the Dark Ages, Esau said, It was 1300s was the beginning. I mean, the ending of the Dark Ages, and they went back like 500 years. It should have went back 1,000 years. If you do the research, I believe it was around 500. 800, 500. I got to do the research. I'm not going to look it up, but there was a certain time where Esau said, this time period is, I'm almost attempted to get my laptop and go into it, but that's all right. This time period, I'll put it in the description of the comment section or whatever. This time period, the ending of the Dark Ages was about 1300, 1350, going into the 1400s. Prior to that, going really, it should be from 325, Constantine sat on the throne, up until around 1325, 1350, going into 1400. So we ruled for more than 1,000 years. Most I said 1,000 years. When you go to Revelation chapter 20, one of my favorite breakdowns, you know me, I love going into the hermeneutics of the scriptures. And hermeneutics is not just how can you say, theological term. Hermeneutics is basically etymology. You got to go into those words. That's why we always go to the blue letter. And all these other camps picked up on the blue letter. Blue, by the way, mind you, the blue letter goes off here and there. But we know through the spirit because we used to read the books and go to the libraries. Before you had the internet, we used to have to go spend hours in the library. Okay? So anyway, they called it the Dark Ages because they weren't in rulership. So who was in rulership? It was Jake. When you read Revelation chapter 20, beautiful chapter, says a whole lot. You have to know the history. If you do not know the history or the biblical history, you cannot get the mystery. You have to know the history. You have to know maps. You don't have to speak Hebrew fluently. And at one time, I was so good at the Hebrew that me and High Priest Ariel used to have conversations in the Hebrew. I had maybe 250 words, Hebrew words, you know, that I was familiar with and can use in sentences and all that, but I lost that. I mean, it doesn't take that long to get it back. If I was to get back into the Hebrew, and you can't make Hebrew videos because nobody watches them, you know. But you got to know, at least know how to go into the Hebrew. If you really knew the Hebrew and the Greek and so forth, you wouldn't be calling the Lord Jesus. This Christian comes up and say Jesus, you corner him on that name Jesus. What does it mean? Where did it come from? What the letter J? When did the letter J? They don't know all that. All they know is their pastor said Jesus, and they just go and they say, "Oh, that's the English way of saying the Lord." No, that's not a word. That's not a word. Actually, it's like Latin, garbage Latin. Which I believe the individual, and I first did a video on it, and people remind me, I believe the man's name is Tricino, and he was the one that came up with this. Before that, you had I'm all over the place, but hang with me. I'm not going by a script. I'm just all over the place. There's lessons within lessons, but he came up with the concept of a Renaissance alphabet, a Renaissance language. The original is, I know Hebrew is 22 letters. Greek, if I'm not mistaken, I did videos on that as well, 22 letters. Classic Latin, I believe, is 22 letters. I could be wrong. I don't have the information, but I will look into it. Somebody could put it on the comment section of the video or the premiere. I may put it up. When this guy came along, he added letters to it. So it went from 22 to 26. Your A, B, C, your alphabet. When you say alphabet, you know what you're speaking in Hebrew. Alap, Bayath, alphabet. When you say alphabet, you're saying A and Ba. The origins of your English, you know, your classic English or whatever, come from the Hebrew. The Greek come from the Hebrew. That's why the Greek alphabet has a classic Greek, ancient Greek, for lack of a better way of saying it, had 22 letters. Where did they get it from? The ancient Hebrew. So when you go to Revelation chapter 20, it tells you about this beast, this old serpent, the devil, Satan, the physical counterpart of the spiritual demon, Satan, was chained about with a spiritual chain. And he was, you know, he was sentenced to 1,000 years of not being in power. That's why when you read further into Revelation 20, it said that he came out, the chains were loosened and he came out, right? And then as soon as he came out, what did he do? His job was to deceive the whole world. That's talking about Christopher Columbus, starting point. And them small hats were behind them. He was financed by Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand. And I believe there was another small hat that financed him. That was a turbulent time back there. That's during the time of Torquemada and the Inquisition, where you had to be a Christian / Catholic. If you was anything else, they tortured you and they put you to death. So you got Christopher Columbus came over here. And why did he come over here? The Most High set it up for him to come over here as part of prophecy. Anytime you go into Revelation chapter 20 and you don't mention Christopher Columbus and you don't mention the Europeans coming over here, you don't understand the scriptures. Hey, ask Vocab. Vocab don't know. That's why anytime Vocab does a video, he doesn't go into the prophetic parts of the scriptures. Anyway, I said I didn't want to make this long, but I just want to show you something, right? This right here, I'll read it and I'll show it to you. It's a descent of the Holy Ghost on the apostles. Tempera on wood. And it doesn't give you a date, but we do know it was long before the Renaissance period. And I want you to take a look at this, and you can clearly see that they look like brothers in the different camps. You see the individual right there? There ain't no Edomite. See the one further down? We'll do it this way. That's supposed to be the Messiah with a crown on his head. Get a good shot of him. Oh no, that's a white guy. No. You can clearly he looked like about 20 different brothers from different camps. Oh, that looked like so and so. That looked like such and such. This is supposed to represent the 12. And they all had beards, except for one had he young man. But that one right there, man. That one right there. Wow. And these were Israelites. And they all had long garments. And you're supposed to be wearing long garments. The priests, the spiritual men, they wore long garments, not t-shirts with fringes on it. Okay, this is what I wanted to do. Because it didn't give you a year. Okay, here's another picture. This is the raising of Lazarus. Circa, the C represents circa 1200 AD. Georgian State Art Museum. That's in Russia. The original Georgia is not south or north of Florida. It's in Russia. Georgia, Russia. There's another book. This is called The Icons. This book is called The Icons. You had another book called The Russian Icons. As you can see. And I got this from the Met for about, I don't know, $30. Brand new. Brand new. Okay, so this is Lazarus rising, and you see the Lord. You see a gentleman standing next to him with white woolly hair. This, and like I said, this is circa 1200. So this is long before Esau. Remember, Esau started to come into power 1350. Started to come into a little bit of power. When he really came into power was really 100 years after that, which is 1450, 1453. That's a key year. And then, you know, 50 years into that, in the future, you know the rest of the story. Christopher Columbus, they were compelled to come over here to what? To fulfill prophecy. And if you can't get it, the Most High just kept your eyes closed. As you can see, that's Lazarus right there. That's from circa 1200, right? So now I got this book. Now this book right here, I got this for like $20, brand new. Icons and Saints of Eastern Orthodox Church. And then this book right here, all the icons of Jake. Let me open the book. Just go to the random page right here. Because I want to get the years in. Okay, they ain't giving me no years. No dates. Okay, this is from, there's one page that says circa 1224 AD. You can get this book at the Cloisters in Manhattan. We used to speak out there. That's the museum, the Cloister Museum. Okay, let me see something. Okay, this is just a picture right here, and you can clearly see that this man is a Jake. I believe this is representing the Lord. You can see the fro. Kind of looks like me a little bit. You see the fro. He's a man of. It's supposed to represent Yahushua, but there's no beard, so they went off on that. Most of them had beards. So now this book right here, The Passion of Christ, I got this for $1 at a dollar store years ago. And these are all Renaissance paintings. The fact that Esau was drawing himself in books and all that, they got that from us. Okay, this is supposed to be the Last Supper. They're all Edomites, but what you got to check out is the year 1592. That's 8 years shy of 1600 AD. And Jakes were being brought over here from West Africa to serve slavery in the late 1500s. I'm sorry, the early 1500s. It says, The Last Supper, Tintorito, The Last Supper, 1592. You can see that they're all Edomites. So the difference between our icons and theirs is what? The years. I showed you a couple of pictures from dated 1200 AD. And this one's almost 16, so we're talking 400 years later. So who was in Europe before Esau came into power and took over Europe? We were. This is the Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper. It says 1494 to 1498. And this, as High Priest Yeshua would say, this is the Bogier family making a mess at the dinner table. Now, you have Lucrezia Bogier, and then you have I forget the name of Caesar Borgia's brother, and then you have 4 of them, and they're all throughout the picture. And you have a woman on the side of the so-called Jesus. That's your classic Jesus. That we believe that was Jesus as kids. We were messed up as kids. And that's all because of your mother. You familiar with that? For almost 1500. Almost 1500. So we're talking, this is 300 years after that icon I showed you, or a couple of icons that went back to 1200. Oh, look at this. Peter, Paul, Rubens, what is that? Oh, I'm sorry, that's the guy's name. Christ washing the apostles' feet. And this is circa 1632. So we're talking about 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Over 400 years later. So this is what they had to do. They had to deceive the world and say that they're the people, they're the angels, they're the Most High, they're the disciples, they're the Messiah, they're Moses, they're everybody. 1632. The Lord didn't look like this. And you got this demon vocab saying, but when you go to Revelation 1, it says his hair was white. They're trying to confuse people. But you know what? The ones, it says, but the elect shall not be deceived. Merely paraphrasing. If it were possible, they would deceive the very elect. The elect will not be deceived. Guercino, Christ in Gethsemane, I hope I'm saying that right, circa 1620. Circa 1620, you got a LGBTQ angel, and you got what's supposed to be Christ, looking like Charles Manson. As you can see. Anyway, like I said, this was a test, but it wound up turning into a lesson. So with that, I'm going to say shalom.